the garage. I'm Rich. So today's job, I'm going to put back the 450 carbs. I'm going to put them back together. So the carb bodies and all the bits and pieces have gone through the ultrasonic cleaner. Everything is squeaky clean. I've since taken apart the throttle butterflies to change the felt washers after a tip off, so I'll show you what that looks like as well. Great, let's get stuck in. Okay, so these are all the parts from the throttle butterfly. Now, this is what I was told about. So this is a felt washer. There's two of these. There's one that lives on this side of the throttle rod, and there's one that lives on this side, inside the carb body, just here. Okay, so essentially you've got one on each side, and apparently they can affect the air mixture, vacuum leaks, etc. Now the ones on my carbs, they're still quite pliable. But anyway, so I've decided to replace them. So we've got them both out. So here they are. There's two of them. Now they're really difficult to find. Couldn't get hold of any. What I managed to find is a bag full of felt rings that you use on piano strings. And so all I've done is I've taken those. They were right outside diameter, and I've just opened up the inside diameter a little bit in order to get these on. So anyway, we'll see how we go. So the way that these go back together, you have this plastic part here which slides in first. You then have your felt washer. So here's my new one. On it pops. There's then a steel washer, followed by a retaining clip which goes in. You can see there is a slot just there for the retaining clip that just pushes in. Okay, so that's that side put together. Okay, and then that whole housing goes through like so, like that. Okay, now the next one that we need to do is we need to fit this one in here. So on this side what you have is you have this piece here. So it's a piece of metal, C-shape, kind of beveled on the inside here, and the felt washer goes on the underside of that. So if we push the throttle rod all the way through, and then we squish the felt washer into place, and then the metal washer into place there. Then we have the spring, which goes over like so. Then we have the lock washer, the washer on top, close it down. Okay, so that's that mechanism in, and the next thing we need to do is we need to put the actual butterfly back on with the two screws here. Okay, I'm going to use a bit of Loctite when I put these back together, so we don't want these slipping out and falling down the cylinders. Okay, so that's in. Now, I ended up doing that off camera. It required quite a lot of fiddling and fettling, and I may have bent joy of joys, may have bent the throttle butterfly ever so slightly. Anyway, the what I ended up doing in order to get it to slide into the throttle body nicely is I just took some very fine sandpaper, so this is 2000 grit, wet and dry. I rubbed it a bit with that, then I used a bit of ultrasonic, gave it a polish, and it did go in there okay. I also took the spring back off. That seemed to help. So I need to get these tiny 2 screws in there to hold it in place. As I say, it may have bent it a little bit. Time will tell whether it makes a good air seal. I may need to be sourcing a new one. Right, so this is blue Loctite. Okay, so the thing you need to remember with Loctite is as soon as it makes contact with the metal, it starts to go off, so you don't want it to touch the tip of the bottle. I believe what these screws were originally, I don't know whether you can see on this camera, I don't know whether it'll pick it up very well, but on the end there they're peened or staked, stop them dropping out. So that's why I'm using the Loctite. Hopefully again, put this new felt washer in. Right, so both of those replaced. The throttle butterfly back in place. Anyway, there we go. Job done. On to the rest of the carb. So let's take care of the bottom first. So into here we need to drop the main jet. And into here we need to drop the slow jet and the idle jet. Okay, so here's the main jet. So stock is 130. I was having a problem with overfueling, so I'm going to drop in there 120 for no other reason than the shits and the giggles. There's no signs telling me that that one will work over the 130, but this is the smallest jet I've got, so I'm going to go for this one first, check the fuel in the air mixture and increase the size as we go along. So what we need first is the holder for the jet. So in she goes. So with these brass parts, it just wants to be, okay, not excessively tight. On top of that we drop the main jet, okay, again, so it's a Phillips head on here, nice and gentle until it's snug and no further. Okay, so that's the 120 main in there. Then we're going to drop so the slow jet in first. Tighten that down, and then the idle jet on top. So everything else is a 38, which again is standard, factory standard for these bikes. Factory standard for the main jet is 130, that's with the airbox, etc. So So I haven't got the airbox and I haven't got standard exhausts, which suggests that we'd need to increase in jet sizes, which I've tried. That's just ended up being worse, so we'll go the other way and see what happens. So those are those in. Next we need the needle seat. Okay, that's on a 10mm. Just on a 10mm. So again, so we don't want it too tight, just snug. And into there, we drop the needle. There we go. Okay, so next we have the float and the float pin. So I've just spun, this float pin is brass, the one on the other one is not brass. So anyway, I've just spun this in my drill with a bit of wire wool just to polish it up enough for it to slide through here. There we go. Now theoretically the float height should be fine, because I've not adjusted the tang or anything like that, but anyway, I should be doing a bench sink on these just to make sure. Got the rubber washer on, new one of those. Then we've got drain plug there, new rubber washer on there, and metal washer on the size. Metal washer there on 2. Clip it back on. There we go. And we have this plug screw as well, which goes just here. So the air mixture screw comes in this slot here, and then we have a plug screw just here. This one. Now on here is these fibre washers. And that's all it has, just a fibre washer. And that is the bottom part of this carburettor done. So onto the top. Okay, so on the top here we've got the slide, which pops in right here, like so, which also slots inside the cap here, like so as well. Okay, that's how the vacuum's created. There's no rubber diaphragm on these. Now what you have to do is you have to watch for spots that catch. So the best way is just to lift him up and down in all sorts of different orientations and find if there's any spots that catch. Now, I've already done this when I rebuilt them before, so I'm fairly happy that they're nice and smooth. But regardless, what I'm going to do is I'm going to run some of that 2000 grit around there, give that a polish with the ultrasonic. Same on the inside of here. Same on the inside of the carb body here. I'll bring you back when I've done. Alright, okay, happy with that. So that's just polished up. So first thing we need to do is we need to get the needle back in the slide. So the needle's made up of 3 parts. So you've got the actual needle itself. You've got this cap here which goes inside there. And then you have the little grub screw that goes in and holds. So this presses against the cap there on the side of the needle. Again, with all of these things, it doesn't need to be excessively tight. So there's that. we've got a new paper, gasket there, and then we've got, if you can see there, we've got a groove in the side of the slide, and there's a corresponding groove just here. Don't know if you can see that little nubbin on the side of the carb there, and we've got to match those two things up whilst we drop the needle through the hole. There we go. Okay, final job is the cap then goes on top, like so. Now when you're rebuilding, you can usually swap around the caps, etc., until you find a combination of caps and slides that work together. So these, I believe this cap was on the other carburettor, but it actually worked better with this slide. So just these JIS screws to hold it tight. We'll at some point get around to replacing these with Allen heads. Last job is the air mixture screw. So the air mixture screw, there are a few different components. So you've got the actual screw itself, you've got a spring, a tiny little metal washer, and an even smaller rubber washer. Okay, so to pop it together, we've got spring on, metal washer, rubber washer. Okay, and then all of that together goes inside the hole. And you have to be extremely careful with these when you're tightening them down. So you screw it ever so gently in until you feel it seat, and I mean gently. I've had so many carburettors on my other bikes where the tips of the needles and the air mixture screws have been broken off inside the carb body. Just turns the carburetor into complete junk. There we go, so it's seated. So a recommendation online that I've seen is that a good starting point for these is 2.5 turns out. So I'm just marking it there with a Sharpie just to help me count. So 2.5 turns out. There's 1. There's 2.5. Okay. There we go. So this carb is all the way complete. Just repeat the process now on the other carb. I'll bring you back when they're both done. Okay, so there they are, both back together. Throttle butterflies were a bit of a fiddle and a bit awkward, so unless you desperately need to change those felt washers, I dare say I'd avoid it if I were you. The most important part is the tiny little screws that hold the throttle butterfly to the throttle rod. The thread on the back of those is very delicate, and on one screw in each butterfly it'd come out, which is why I used thread lock, just to try and kind of keep it in without having to go through the rigmarole of drilling and retapping. Anyway, so they're in. One thing I did forget was the fibre washer on the needle float seat. So if you just have a look in these pictures here, this is where it goes. I went back in and did that. Now, next time, so the next thing I need to do is just make sure that these are properly bench synchronised and set. So that's the float height, that's the butterfly opening. The needle on these is not adjustable, so I'm not going to worry about that.
Okay, yeah, so that'll be the next time. If you've enjoyed this, find it interesting or useful, please give me a big thumbs up. I do appreciate it. Leave a comment down below and consider subscribing, and I'll catch you next time. Bye for now.